Welcome back. If you just joined us, it's still Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. Now to our main conversation for today. The special investigator into the operations of the Central Bank of Nigeria under the tenure of Godwin Emefiele is widening its probe into the acquisition of the Union Bank by Titan Trust Bank. Two leading names in the matter, Cornelius Vink and Roel Savara, will now appear before the investigator or forfeit their shares in the bank to the federal government. Let's put a finger on that and tell you that the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has described the report of the special investigator appointed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which indicted him as satanic, baseless, defamatory and false. Emefiele said in a statement on Sunday that he had instructed his lawyers to immediately commence a legal process to clear his name from what he considered defamatory statement contained in the report. The special investigator Jim Obazi or Sayunde, in the documents obtained by journalists, had among other allegations accused Emefiele of opening 593 foreign bank accounts without approval of either President Muhammad Buhari or CBN's board of directors. In the report, the investigator said that accounts were in different banks in the United Kingdom, the United States, and China, especially £543 million in fixed deposits in UK banks alone. The investigator, according to the document, had also claimed that the recent Naira redesign was not expressly approved by former President Muhammad Buhari. The report had alleged that Buhari's aide, Sabiu Tunde Yusuf, came up with the idea. My guest to do justice to this big story in the studios, we have Mr. Cyril Abaku. He is a broadcaster and public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Enterprise Morning today. And also I have with me Dr. Victor Ohai, president of the Directors Guild of Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
To Enterprise Morning today. Now, gentlemen, let's dig deep into the big story. This has been a big story for a while now in our dailies in Nigeria, but we'd love to ask the simple question. Do you think President Bola Tinubu is giving so much power to this committee he has set out to do justice to the issues we have with the CBN? Let me start with you, Doctor.
Your question again, please.
The question is, do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is given so much power that is beyond the purview of the investigation to do the work that they ought to do?
I think that the president is assuming more power than he truly has. Yes, as the executive, he can make appointments and all that, but as we know, the CBN, you might say it's under the presidency, but it's supposed to be autonomous,
Okay.
as are a few other institutions, which means that they're supposed to act independent, like you have INEC. Now, I expect that the institutions have oversight over institutions like the CBN, for instance, should have been alerted to conduct an investigation, to question whatever it is, and I think that it is within his power to be able to draw their attention to it. And then for them to conduct an investigation, if need be, if they can, or if there's a need, appoint special investigators to go into this. Another thing I think that they could have done is probably use existing institutions, like the EFCC, for instance, or the ICPC.
Okay.
I don't know why you're making
The EFCC thing, because I know EFCC, do you think they have so much technical know-how in this particular matter?
Why would you say they have, within the EFCC, I mean, you have experts in almost every area.
Okay.
They would have financial forensic experts, they would have cyber security experts, they have, I mean, they have experts from all sectors, and if necessary, if they have to, get specialists to help them in their investigations, is well within their purview. So I think that the presidency should have, or the president should have made use of existing institutions to conduct this rather than an ad hoc body such as this. Even at that, with the body that was set up, I think that Jim Obaze is, or from what I've seen so far, has become a little overzealous in the way he's going about his investigations. Because when you're given a position like that, investigations are done discreetly. They are not done on the pages of newspapers. I would expect that any findings, whatever findings he has, should be handed over to the people that appointed him, not to the public, unless there are other agenda, unless the presidency is trying to probably use the court of public opinion, sell the court of public opinion to execute judgment before the case even goes to the court. We expect everything to end. But what Obaze seems to be doing right now is already acting as investigator, prosecutor, and judge in the matter. And I'm wondering if that is the agenda that he has been given, because I don't think that he would act unilaterally on his own. But if he does, I think that he's not exercising discretion in the execution of his job. I'm not doubting his competency, but I'm doubting his methods. And I think that they're a bit crude, rather crude.
Now, not exercising discretion, just like Dr. did say, do you smell something bad coming? Do you really think this is politically motivated? Because just like Doctor did say, Obaze is becoming too overzealous with his role in doing this. Do you think this is becoming too much and tilting towards that area of political motivated investigation?
Let's call it a more decisive name. Let's say vendetta, for example.
Okay.
But I think whatever we say here should be backed up by the facts.
Oh, true.
So, for example, now Victor was talking about the need that Obaze's methods were a little bit crude, were a bit unbecoming. He didn't use the word, but in manner of speaking. I'm wondering where a panel derived powers to tell somebody it was summoning that if the person failed to appear before it, they will lose their shares as owners of a bank or two banks in the country, that they would have forfeited their shares to the federal government. And I'm wondering whether Mr. Obaze has become a court of law to determine that if, because somebody didn't appear before a panel that he constituted in light of the powers the president vested in him as the executive arm of government, not judicial arm of government.
Okay.
Can the executive prosecute somebody and send the person to jail? Or, make any pronouncement that will be binding by law? I don't think it is. Even if the president wanted me to do something and I didn't, he and I could wind up in court. That is the beauty of democracy and the beauty of the republic. That government as an entity can sue and be sued. But and this is just on one side of the whole matter involving Mr. Obaze's whole investigation. You were asking earlier whether the EFCC could investigate. Let's make something clear. The CBN Act, first, before anything else, guarantees the autonomy of the CBN as an institution. Okay?
Okay, true.
Okay.
True, yeah.
Which means that we are talking of Naira redesign. Now, how can you call it a fraud? It was a policy. And policy cannot be, you cannot certainly call a policy a fraud. A policy of the federal government can only be investigated by Parliament. These are laid down constitutional provisions. The Brother cannot wake up and say, the Naira redesign policy, for example, people died from it. But you can't sue government because people died through Naira redesign. It was a government policy. It's a policy. It's not as someone woke up to commit a crime. Who authorized the governor of the CBN to undertake the change of the Naira? It was Mr. President. the CBN was acting within the law when it set out to redesign the naira. Whether it became recoloration or declaration is another matter entirely. The people that have the power to investigate whether the CBN conscientiously executed the policy or not is the National Assembly. Now we have sidestepped the functions of institutions. You have the Accountant General, you have Auditor General, sorry, you have the Office of Auditor General and the National Assembly. We put them aside and hired a private investigator, okay, who is now going for, you see what he wrote, and this is the danger of private individuals undertaking this sort of responsibilities. The report that came out now said that it was that the president didn't give express order for the naira to be redesigned. You see, we couldn't be more clever, more clever by half. And
yes.
then I'm putting the blame on the doorstep of the cousin or the nephew to the president.
Yes.
No, there is no an institution investigating another institution, and so made up of, let's say, equals with a chairman, okay?
Yes.
Will now suddenly come and say it was I mean, it's because at that level it will be collegial. People sit down and assess things. You look at documents, you will even take memoranda from the public.
Yes.
But where we are is a case in which one person did you even see the letter that they wrote to the two shareholders of Titan Trust. I was ashamed to think that lawyers in Nigeria would write such a letter. But I mean, that's my own opinion. So the reality is that no, it is not, whether it is politically motivated or not, the facts on the table do not even augur well for where we are going. Tomorrow, if you sure that tomorrow somebody could join the court and say, we want to challenge the past of the president to appoint a private investigator to investigate the CBN, and the court will say the president never has ab initio. And this whole work that Obaze has done will come to nothing. So why are we not willing to painstakingly follow due process, have honor and respect for procedure, and allow either the General of the Federation, which is an office known by law, okay, or the National Assembly known by law? These are institutions.
Sure.
That have the capacity to, I mean, you don't even understand what it is to have the books of the CBN open to a private investigator. Just open up. In the end, he is a mere citizen, okay? You have somebody who now checking what the CBN did, and we are getting all kinds of things. So one person opened bank accounts of nearly 600 bank accounts overseas, one account in another 500. These things have been coming back to haunt the country because there is an, I mean, President Barry went outside and said, Nigeria is fantastically corrupt. He went and said, and it was a lie. Somebody stole $2.1 billion US in the name of fighting Boko Haram. It was a lie. Nothing like that happened. In the end, what did he get by doing that? He reaped the wind. He reaped the wild wind. Because when you go out and tell the world, my country is corrupt, and you want them to come and invest in that same corrupt country,
No way.
they all ran away. From 2015 until 2023, the Nigerian economy was on the back foot. That's the President Buhari's unwitting, inadvertent, or will I call it unconscious or naive approach to fighting the so-called corruption. In the end, what are we now fighting? The same corruption that he said he was fighting now became even messier under him. As I speak with you, he was the president who was the minister that was feeding school children that were at home. And now she's been indicted for spending 37.something billion naira feeding school children that were not fed. Though it's an indictment, okay? Under the same president, we now hear that it was his cousin or nephew that authorized the CBN to recolorize the naira. Come on. How worse could it even get?
So what you're saying invariably is that
President
Bola, yes.
Henry, sorry. To think that these sort of things went on under an administration, and the next thing you're doing is that you're appointing one man to undertake such a humongous investigation, doesn't even tell me like you're really serious about what you want to achieve. Like I said, somebody could go to court tomorrow and challenge the president and say, let us find out whether our laws empower the president to appoint an individual to investigate the CBN, and let us even know. I think something is wrong somewhere.
Now, Doctor, I would love to ask you, according to the report, I would love to read it out here. It says, in report to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the investigator alleged that the two banks were owned and bought by the proxies of the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, who has denied the claims. Now, let us take a dig deep into this. Do you really think that what the investigator is saying here looks feasible? Do you sense any form of discrepancies in that?
I was going to start by saying it takes a thief to know another. He has been given an assignment, and probably those who gave the assignment know how these things are done, and they have said to him, check it out.
Okay.
Or they have smelt things or suspected things and said, go after them, this is what we suspect. It's not impossible. People do it.
Okay.
You know, they walk through proxies, and who are the kind of proxies? We know some very stupendous and fabulously rich men in this country today, whose wealth is probably more than half owned by politicians who walk through them. And how do they do it? Because they know that people like that, you can't question them. If people like that say they are setting up oil companies, let me just use that as an example, for instance, you will not question them because you assume, oh, they are rich, they can. If you and I say we're going to set up a refinery, for instance, you look at it and say, where is he getting
the money from?
But so if you pass that kind of money through me, it may not work because I don't have that kind of. But there are people you can pass it through and it will fly. So it is not impossible that these people who are very well established businessmen could be used as proxies. Now, I'm not saying any of that could have happened. So just to answer that part of the question. And so if it is true, well, we'll have to wait and find out because he who alleges must prove, as they say. So we'll have to wait and find out, but it's not for the investigators to conclude. And to say that if they don't show up, they will seize their shares is, not even the president has that kind of power. Although in Nigeria, there is impunity. There is no law anymore. I mean, people who are tenured, a new administration will come, forget what the law says, they remove them, and it's like, you can go to court. And the courts are no longer independent to a very large extent in this country. We know that the judiciary is now, to a very large extent, maybe not everybody, but mostly an appendage now of the executive, just like the legislature that has sold out a long time ago. So what we see now is like almost like a dictatorship. We're gradually entering a one-party state and a dictatorship, where to have a contrary opinion now is like you are public enemy number one of the state. What should be normal? Opposition should be normal. People should be able to criticize government, to help government.
Exactly. True.
But no, not in this country. You do that now, you're an enemy. In fact, the cyber rats that have been appointed will be the first ones to attack you. Then those ones that are in the presidency or those who are presidential or executive lapdogs will come after you. And before you know what's happening, they will use state institutions to begin to hound you. And if you are not careful, if you don't escape for your life, you may just disappear one day and, that's it. So because of that, now people can't talk anymore. So I'm really worried. Now, what they're saying about Emefiele and the banks and all that, I expect that in all process of investigation, you don't accuse before you start investigating. You do your investigation, and this is what has always happened. The police will first of all come and call you a thief before they start investigating. They will say
and detain you.
Then start looking for evidence, which is what they did to Emefiele, if you ask me. His intention was to make sure that he's not in a position to maybe influence anything. They first of all accused him and kept him there.
All those who have probably acted with, sorry, all those who might have acted with him in collusion would have run away, bury all the evidence. What ideally should have happened, is the people who make these arrests, that should, normally hand you over to the prosecutors. Well, the missing link in our in our country is this: the prosecutors ought to be part of the arrest process. They should be the ones telling them, we've seen, we smell something here. Allow us undertake our investigations. Talk to all of those who are involved in the person, whatever. Then by the time you arrest the person, you indict. You saw what happened.
Yeah, because you would have had all your evidences.
You indict.
show the person, and the person
You
can
arrest and indict. That's what you do. You don't arrest first of all and then say and then they start going and looking for that way people run away with everything. In fact, when you say we are accusing him of stealing money, all those who partook with him will run away before it's even daylight.
Yes.
And that's what they done with the Emefiele. Now they're looking for how, they have to now go the whole route of going to appoint an investigator. Let me say this. Everything the EFCC is doing today are powers vested with the Nigerian police force.
Okay.
Actually, what the EFCC is doing today is a specialized arm of the Nigerian police. That's why all those in the EFCC are mostly police officers. Okay. Now, in the police, I think it's what they call NFI, something like that.
National Fraud Investigation.
Is a specialized, those are the that deal with economic and financial crimes. So the EFCC is already a specialized money laundering and financial crime, whatever, institution. Let me tell you the truth. The EFCC does not need to wait until wait until the president wants them to now go and investigate somebody. And normally they gather intelligence because fraud intelligence unit, right?
Yes.
So you'll be amazed of how much or even how well they know about a lot of transactions that take place in the country. So all you need to do is to say this particular transaction is fraudulent, is suspicious. If they were independent, they wouldn't have to wait for a SOROC to give them orders. No. They normally will go after anybody that they feel has done something that is worth their attention.
Yes.
All right? So we didn't even give up as in the first place. Go and check the evidence the FCC has on all these people. You'll be amazed. It's there. But when you undermine institutions and you'd rather use, what you feel is more convenient for you, ostensibly to achieve certain ends. Henry, I'm still wondering how the president's panel has powers to tell somebody that they are going to forfeit their shares to the federal government.
I don't know. Because
it is the CBN ideally that could even tell a bank because they are the regulators.
They are the ones.
That if your shareholders and directors fail to comply with so and so whatever,
yes,
this and this will happen.
Yes.
So I don't know whether the Obas is also assuming powers of Dr. Cardoso now. Mm-hmm. It's a grey area.
But I would love to ask.
And then the question is, why should government be on creating precipitating a consumer crisis where there should not be one in the first place? You don't get what I mean? Because if I would not be found that in account that the president empowers somebody to go and investigate an institution, a government institution by the way, which means tomorrow we can empower one person to investigate the DSS,
yes,
investigate the police, investigate the EFCC. Because take it on, the CBN is one of the most sensitive institutions of government in any given country.
Yes.
I just open the books to social administration to somebody to go and investigate. It's still a possibility when we have competent, qualified
state institutions
that can undertake the job.
Constitutional bodies.
The National Assembly can be, people are feeling no be them. It is not their matter. Go and check. There are troves and troves of reports of proofs that they've carried out. What the challenge always is that the executive will not implement the things that they found out and written. What happens behind the scene is behind the scene. But as far as you know, who is empowered to do that work? It is National Assembly. And this is the National Assembly that has clearly said that they work together with the presidency as partners in progress. Why then the doubt or the lack of confidence or lack of faith in an institution that is at your beck and call to undertake the simple task of checking, tell them to say, bring your books and let us check what they're doing.
Now, let's I understand the show of emotion. I understand the show of sympathy, empathy, and of course there are excuses to that. Usually when there is abuse of the rule of law, what you see come next is public sympathy. A sinner automatically becomes a saint. Now, for some of us that were in Nigeria when...
Is that really the case? What they're doing here is crucify him, crucify.
That's what it
they are
seems.
robbing.
Yes, I understand all of that. But what we are trying to do now is, I understand the show of emotions and sympathy for Godwin Emefiele. But
irony,
yes,
if I may,
yeah,
an irony in the sense that Emefiele a year ago was
yes,
a villain.
that is what
Was
I'm trying to
public enemy
do.
number one.
Yes,
And I'm not sure that very many Nigerians could spare any sympathy for the man.
that is.
But what we are saying today, a government is trying to scapegoat him, you know, in such a way. For example, when the court said granted bail, just look as Oebo Federal Court Lagos said granted bail. We had a public spat between the DSS and the correctional services coming to blows to determine who should take him into custody. And my brother, there is no need to relativize the law. When they say take him into custody, now prison is supposed to go. What we now call correctional services, not DSS.
Now, my question is this. I understand.
So these things are a lot of making Nigerians begin to feel that government is after something else that they're not telling us.
But my question is this. I understand all of these things, and I understand the show of emotion, sympathy, empathy, and so on and so forth. But we all know too well that Emefiele, just like you said, used to be a villain, and right now he's being glorified as a hero. Do you think, in spite of what he has done in the past, that all of these things happening to him now is deserving of him? We understand it's not done the right way, but is it deserving of him?
Let me put it this way. When you use the word deserving,
Yes.
let us look at that word deserve properly.
Yes.
To deserve something, you would have earned it.
Yes.
In this case, to earn it, there is a process. There's an investigation, accusation, indictment, prosecution, trials, judgment. Then we can talk about deserve.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Right now, under our laws, especially under our criminal laws, a man is presumed innocent until proven guilty. You cannot deserve the hangman's noose if you have not gone through proper trial. Even if you were caught in the very act of murder, you cannot deserve the hangman's noose until you have undergone proper trial. Otherwise, it becomes extrajudicial killing, which by itself, as we say, two wrongs don't make a right. So to answer your question, I think that in a civilized, I hate using that word in a civilized country, but right now we are acting like barbarians. We're not acting like we are civilized, to be honest. Because no civilized country will begin to treat its citizens this way. You allow the rule of law. You don't begin to call a man thief before you have tried him. Otherwise, you and I can be called thieves, and on the basis of that, you know, what is the difference between what happens in those days? I don't go to a leg, but someone just say, thief, they throw a tire around your neck, burn you, and that's it. Would you want that? But that's what is happening right now. And it has started this way. Today is Emefiele. Don't think any of us is free. It could be you and I tomorrow. Unless we insist that there's proper rule of law and there's no impunity from the executive. Only then can we be said to be safe. Only then can we be said to be acting under a civilized democracy. Right now, I'm afraid.
I used to be on radio with a lawyer back in the, some 10 years ago, some 8 years ago there, when Buhari came and locked up Dasuki. And I said, rule of law. That lawyer, very senior lawyer in Nigeria, said, rule of law. I kept mute. It didn't take
rule of law.
Yes, it didn't take up to 2 years. The rule of law came for him.
Yeah.
And he was behind bars for a long time. They kept him in custody without trial.
You didn't remind him. Oh, you should have reminded him.
Say rule of law. You see, we can't defend these things. Even if it was the devil himself that came to Nigeria, the laws should apply. Otherwise, what is us for the goose one day will become us for the gander. Yes. And that's what we don't want. Emefiele may be wrong for all you can. But is the president, so can you not use a wrong to correct another wrong?
No.
You are only piling up more wrongs. And that's what Nigeria should not accept. That's my
That's your take. All right, so that was a very interesting discussion we had today. And we hope and pray for that society called Nigeria where, you know, the rule of law will be obeyed and what is needed in this country would be given significant attention. I'd love to say my thank you to Mr. Cyril Abagu for being part of our show today, and to you, Dr. Victor Hai, for always coming around and doing justice to our discussions here on Enterprise Morning. And to you, our audience, would love to say thank you so very much for making your time to be part of our show today. But please do remember to follow, like, and comment on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Enterprise TV 7 and press the notification bell so you get notified whenever we drop our content. I am Henry Kubiki. I will see you tomorrow for yet another interesting time on Enterprise Morning. Cheers.